everyone, this is a quick video on introduction to trigonometric functions. So as you can see here, we've got a unit circle, and we'll remember from what we've been doing so far that every point on the unit circle can be represented, instead of using x and y as our coordinates, we can actually use cos and sine. So we can replace x by cos and we can replace y by sine. That's the unit circle, and we've done a whole lot on that and the different angles around the unit circle, and therefore the different values of sine and cos. But we can move on from that and talk about something called trigonometric functions. And trigonometric functions are when we take all those values of, say, cos, if we want to draw the graph of cos, or draw the graph of sine. We take all the values of sine around the unit circle at the different angles and plot them on a graph. So I've got a demonstration of what I mean by that. If you have a look at my unit circle here, say I pick this point here, or maybe let's pick something a bit more specific. We'll pick 45 degrees because we sort of know about 45 degrees. That's one of the special angles on your unit circle, and we'd read off from that the sine value to get the y value or the sine value. We could read that off that graph. But we could also plot that, and it would actually correspond to a point on a graph that looks like this. Now what we're plotting here is we're plotting all the angles down the bottom, and then we're just plotting the sine value on this side. So we're not plotting cosine and sine, we're just plotting sine. So 45 degrees, I'd read off the y value of that, which would be the sine value, and I'd plot it on my graph. Then I could pick another value, say I picked 60 degrees. Or about 60 degrees. So that's going to be about there. Again, correspond to a certain y value, corresponds to that point on the graph here. I'm going to keep on going. As I keep on going around the unit circle, I keep on getting different y values for each different angle. Now at this angle here at 90 degrees, we know sine is equal to 1, and we can see that mirrored over here on the function. So what you can see here is that as I rotate around the unit circle for all the different angles, I get lots of different sine values that when I plot on my function forms the sine graph. So there you have it. There's the sine graph. Cosine is very similar, except cosine is the x values. Remember, cosine is, we can just, so say we do exactly the same thing, but instead of doing sine, we do cosine. And I start, and I say I do 45 degrees. So 45 degrees on cosine, if I get rid of both my graphs just quickly and have a look at it, okay, so we're nice and clean again. I'm just going to talk about cosine now. So if I go to 45 degrees again, or around there, that's 40, so let's go to 45. Okay, so if I then draw across from here to about here where 45 is, that's the point that would be 45 degrees. Now we're plotting cosine against the angles, so this is just the cos values or just the x values, and these are just the angles. Keep on going around. By the time I get up to 90 degrees, up here, we remember at 90 degrees that our value for cosine is actually 0 because x is 0. So this is our value for cosine right there at 90 degrees is 0. Keep on going around. What's it going to be over here? Well, we'd expect it to be here. We'd expect it to be -1. Why do we expect it to be -1? Because x is -1 at 180 degrees, and so therefore cos is -1. Keep on going around. Down here, you would expect it to be 0, cosine to be 0 because x is 0, so let's check that out. That's at 270 degrees. Sure is, it's 0. And then finally over here we'd expect it to go back up to 1 because x is 1 and cosine is going to therefore be 1. And if we go up there, we see that it happens. So that's the graph of cos x. This is the graph of sine x. If we just quickly draw that in, draw in the graph of sine x, there we go. You'll notice that sine x starts at 0 and ends at 0, whereas cosine starts at 1 and ends at 1. And that's because at 0 degrees, sine, which is y, is 0, whereas cosine, which is x, is 1. So just a quick introduction into the unit circle. We'll talk a bit more about it later.